As soon as I locate my YouTube chat room, I'll bring it up. Let's see, chat is Papa. There it is. Well, there's the chat, YouTube chat. All right, Omniacs, if you can hear me out there, you should be able to. Yeah, lots of quotes on the board. We're waiting for the Fed. No changes expected.
Yeah, I remember hearing you guys bring that up before. Just want to like triple check. When I'm looking at stuff like this, like a number.
Mm-hmm.
So you see how like that looks like it'd be a digit short?
No, you just need
Then I
one.
look it up, and it's got this on it.
Oh, that's international.
It's just even when I do the regular and then that and this, like
would-
anytime
don't
I've
do
seen
the
one of
O.
these numbers, nothing happens.
It's
Oh, I've
011.
done without the O as well.
Yeah. And then the
That
last thing
was
to
just
do is
on the
check the
website.
site and see if it's been changed.
On the website, it's this number with the 0 in front.
Got it.
So I was just making sure because I try every variation, of course, before giving up. You know, as you should. Live with Oscar. Well, that could be. Who am I speaking with? This is Michael from Live with Oscar. Live with Oscar is an international trading desk that we. Okay, excellent. How can I help you today, sir? Oh, okay, no problem. What was your name?
Still good.
Jordan. Well, hello, Jordan. Nice to speak to you. Yeah, before I was giving you a phone call, it was just a courtesy phone call to Omniacs, a quick hello, as well as to ask you if you had any questions for us regarding Live with Oscar, our chat room, OmniCamp seminar, anything like that at all. No problem. If you have any questions or anything, you know where to find us, and come join us in the chat room once in a while. All right, you have a good one, sir. Enjoy. You're welcome. Bye.
You go, Mikey. You're very polite on the phone. She's doing a great job. Is she doing a good job on the phones, guys? What do you think? You've been hearing from. Let's see what we have here today. Okay, we have 8 minutes.
Yay.
You want to turn it up on the TV?
I don't even have it on, so we got to find the channel.
Either 35 or 96 or something that won't disturb the press conference. Although we could probably get the press conference, probably get a link to that.
Oh yeah, I'll just look up the dot though. But we also it's nice to have one.
But for now, yeah, for TV, we'll hear the announcement, and then at 2:30, we'll look up. We'll watch the press conference.
So you said 34?
35 or 96. I think those are the two that don't interrupt anyone when they speak.
Yeah, I've said it too. That's such a pet peeve of mine. I'm sorry. We don't care at all what you, the moderator, has to say. We want to listen to the leader.
Yeah.
In charge, whoever.
There's times when our own president of the United States is speaking, and these idiots are like, no, okay, let's push them off to the side because we have stuff to talk about. Oh, really? It's more important than what our president has to say. It doesn't matter what president it is. They do it all the time.
Like the president, don't like the president. I care more what the leader has to say.
Right.
Random analyst.
He's our president. We'd like to hear him, not you, Mr. Reporter.
Cool. CNBC. They just mentioned March 2 o'clock.
Yep. Cool. 7 minutes. Are we ready? Are we ready for the Fed meeting? I am. Something tells me it won't be rallying after he speaks. I am. I like that CPI roller coaster. I'm on live on Twitter. Good. Omniacs, get ready. It's going to happen shortly. In 6 minutes. Now, normally the last few Fed meetings aren't all that important because we knew where we were. We knew we weren't touching rates. We knew that there was kind of we were stuck, locked in between the president and the chairman. He was on his way out. Not a lot happened. I have a feeling this press conference is going to be very wordy. We're going to find out a lot of stuff.
And we'll get to see what it's like to listen to Lars talk.
Well, it's a little bit like Bernanke. He's just a little bit.
Like
it's kind of weird. It's almost an annoying voice, but not quite. It like almost annoys you and then doesn't. You know, he's not the easiest guy to listen to.
One thing I did like about Powell was he had like a soothing voice.
Yeah. And Bernanke had a voice. The voice made him sound weak. He had just like a weak voice, but he was very strong, so it didn't matter, you know. So, the markets are absolutely geared to go higher, especially with crude now trading under 77. Thank you, crude, through the equilibrium area. Markets are geared to go higher. The infrastructure is there to send it higher. The inflation is coming down to allow it to go higher. Crude had started to come down now to allow it to go higher. All we got to do is get past whatever the hell happens with the Fed. Even if it knocks us down a few days, we're going higher. For this hour.
Oh, absolutely. No problem. And I usually see him in the room anyways. Just more of a friendly phone call.
MCM wrote in my Omni trading room, the war is over. And I wrote back, yeah, for this hour. Speak to me in about an hour and a half. Maybe it'll be back on. 3 hours from now, it could be off again. You know these nuts are going to shoot something. As soon as the tank is stuck on through, they're going to shoot at one of them. So after the decision, we'll look for the link. But we have a whole half an hour to worry about that. All right, kids, let's get ready to go. Let's see, maybe we could put something silly on in the background, like a chart. What if we did? Let's see what NASDAQ does. We'll put up a NASI chart. 8 NASDAQ. And we're going to do something really silly. We're going to put up like a minute chart.
Man, I'll be right up any time.
Yeah. Everyone's going to get so excited. This is not my usual, but why not? We'll just do this for the announcement. Just so that you're clear. This is NQU26 1 minute. I gotta make that smaller. move this over. That's what I was trying to do. All right, so we have a silly 1 minute chart up. And we'll see what kind of action we get. Trump said he's going to fire Wash if he doesn't lower rates today, huh? Oh, what was that? That was $100 spike. What was that? Turn that TV up just a teeny bit. I just want to hear what they say. They didn't mention it yet. Look at that. Look at that. Dear Lord. Well, we didn't expect them to change rates. It's a nice little 1 minute bar, huh? Let's go look at everything else. All right, bonds down. Looks like our Russell trade would have worked anyway, even though I didn't put us in. I had mentioned it to everyone this morning that we would sell Russ at, I didn't tell you the price, $29.97. $29.94 to 97. Would have been selling Russ. It's at $29.80. It actually would have worked. So this is June, but we would have done September, add 21 to these prices, and that's where we were going to trade. So add 21 to 73 to 77, right? You add 20 points, 97, 98. We were going to get in right there in September. And look where it is now. That would have been a perfect trade. Stop would have never been hit. Stops were above 30.11. Well, we don't trade on Fed days, but I wanted to show you what the Omni wanted us to do. The Omni wanted us to get short and ride this thing down. Did you see that? Look, these are June prices. Look at the high in June. What you do is look at June. And here comes the profit objective. I already set the profit objective for Russ. It's ringing. Oh, Nasdaq's filling its gap. Let's go down to the gap fills. Gap fills. Let's go to June. Getting into the gap zone, kids. I don't know what's right back before I So let's go take a look. Now we have to keep a close eye on these guys when we close the gaps, and we got to see what the street goes. Look at how close, kids. Look at this. Look at how close we are to filling the gap. Come on, do it. Do it, do it, do it. Fill the gap. There it is. We're going to see it together. Almost there. Does everyone see what's happening before their eyes? Look. Gap filled. ES gap filled, kids. Now we got that one done. Let's go to the NQ chart. And it's almost filled. It's not there, but almost. And there it is now. Boom. Gap filled. You can't today. Not today, maybe tomorrow. One more day, MCM. Oh, we do have a holiday coming up. And the simplicity behind why you want to wait one more day, if everyone's watching, this is simple. You only get about 3 down days ever in this market, and then it's over. You don't get more than 3. We've got 2 here. Give it a chance. Does everyone see that? Let's give it one more day, and then we could probably go in and buy it. If we look back, you will see that you do not get a lot of 3 times in a row. You get 2, sometimes 3. Right now we've got 2. 2, right? Sometimes 3. You see that? Only sometimes you get 3 days in a row down. So tomorrow could be our day. Yeah, there you go. The Cylons are coming, huh? All right, so we filled gap. We filled the Nazi. Let's go look at the Russ. There were no gaps in Russ to be filled. Now, once again, how many times you see a lot of red bars? 2, right? 1, 1, 2, 3 max. Then you have the 4, but everyone did 4 on that day if you look at all the charts back there. 3. The usual is 3 max. You only have 2 here now. So tomorrow is a big day. YM. No gap on the YM chart. All right, let's go look at the board. Where's crude? Hold on, am I covering crude with my stupid camera? No. Bonds are 112.30. 8 points off the low. Gold is making a new low right now. Gold is right behind my picture. Boom, there's gold, silver. I will sit this down here over coffee and cotton because not a lot of us are watching those. So, S&P, NASDAQ, Russell, YM, mini Dow. Dollar index, Euro, British, Australian, Japanese yen, Canadian, Swiss. Gold, silver, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, crude oil, soybeans, wheat, soy meal, corn, oats, bean oil. Bonds, 10-year notes, copper, platinum, natural gas, sugar, coffee, cocoa, orange juice, cotton and cocoa. Those are the ones that I kind of keep right in front of my eyes. And then, of course, I've got all the rest of this stuff that I'll look at when I need to see more. And it just goes on and on and on. Look how red the board's getting stock-wise. Look down here for the stocks. These are all the stocks that just lit up. A lot of red here. A lot of red here. Look at all that red. What happened to Intel? Where's Intel? Intel, where are you? Oh, no, it was Nvidia. It was my Nvidia chart. I don't think this is the right one. Oh, it is. I don't like Nvidia, but I mentioned it in the video last night. SpaceX, huh? Oh, we don't want that. We want this. SpaceX. Moved by SpaceX. And then I see nearly 83% or 70% probability of one in December. So the market reacting very quickly to this. And it may be that David Kelly is right, that the Fed can threaten or job on the market to take away that time and then not have it delivered. But right now, the way the market is trading, I mean, just look at the 2-year data. The 2-year is telling you and has told you for a very long time that rates are likely to be higher than they are for much longer. Below 14. You know, you talked about 62. Maybe that's not the proper symbol for this machine. Let me see what else it could be using. Maybe it's using a different symbol. Again, it's going to take a lot of nerve for the Federal Reserve to actually raise rates into a highly inflation environment later on this year. I feel like we've been saying rate cut. The president is saying it. I think we have to stop that conversation. Oh, it's SPCX. That makes sense. That's what it should be. Just projections change. For the December meeting, Steve Leach reduced reference. 39% chance that rates stay where they are right now. 43% chance they go up by 1.1%. And here's what's amazing. Well, the weekly chart probably doesn't have a lot of damage done. And this day isn't even over.
I think the inflation did that for us. I mean, I don't think we're going to have a lot of conversation with press conference about the rate cut, not in the near term. And really, the
Wow.
just to the end of this year is so important.
Bounced a lot off its lows. My goodness. Filled the gaps and just bounced big time. Do you see that? Look at this. Those things filled the gaps and did exactly what they were supposed to do. Look at that. We're all the way back up here now. The dash to the right, gap was filled. We're all the way back up here after filling the gap. Look at that. Wow, that was the perfect type of trade. And normally I would put us in that, but we can wait. We're patient. We don't have to get in on the gap fill. We'll wait for an omni signal. But the gap got filled and it rallied right back up, showing that gap fills are good trades still. No matter what this AI stuff does, that is exactly the way old analysis always worked. Let's pull up a gold chart. Boy, does that look ugly. I think that's right, Brian. I agree with you on that. And notice that he reaffirmed the 2% target in there. On the slide.
I can check, but I know that I just had people from the last couple of years on the extra time. So we should be some statements are good as of today.
Well, You know, I put my opinion in gold in the videos this week. Just doesn't look good here. In the silver.
No problem. Well, I'm happy to hear the recommend. I appreciate that.
All right, so now we need a. Does anyone have a link to the press conference?
You're welcome. If you ever need
Because
it.
when you watch it on TV, they interrupt, which drives me crazy. Have you called our friends yet, Mikey?
Only a few.
You get to Neil and any of them? Oh, you have to. You got to do that.
So the one thing I see is I don't think the statement is dropping the maximum employment mandate. I do think it's signaling that unemployment side things are in good shape. Labor market stabilized. We're very close to that.
Absolutely, positively. But the difference, market neutral, is this. Here's where it gets tricky. Let's say that big bank bought those 1,300 calls, what, 6,000, 1,300 calls, right? For all you know, they want the market to go down because they're long 9,000 puts somewhere else that you don't see. And that's where the problem is with trying to follow these trades. Because if I was doing a trade that big, I would mask it so that the jerks who are trying to copy me, follow me, or match me in their portfolios, I get in first. So I would do things to make you think I need the market to go up, put a whole bunch of calls out there in the public eye, where meanwhile, through a block trade, I'm short the crap out of this thing. You got to be really careful how you interpret the fake orders that get put out there. I shouldn't say fake. The bait that gets put out there, a lot of times it's bait. Well, there's a little conspiracy theory going on there, huh, Mega? You know what? I remember when we had the Arab summer, when they just went crazy in Egypt and across that part of the world, they just all started turning on their own countries. We called it the Arab summer.
When was this? Like recent or this is like the
This is probably 10 years ago, maybe less. Does anyone remember the Arab summer? The whole Middle East went crazy on themselves.
Are we talking about 2012 when thought that was the end of the world? They were giving the baby poison type thing.
No. Hey, wait, I'll just look it up. Arab summer. Was it spring? Arab spring. Maybe it was called Arab spring. Is that what it was called? So I remember when that happened because Mega just made a funny, analogy that it's, that it's Israel speaking to another country, speaking to Trump, and So during the Arab Spring, when the uprising started and they just started flipping out over there, I remember a reporter says to our president, "I'll tell you right now, I see a direct link between interest rates in the United States and the Arab Spring." Like that had anything to do with anything, you know what I mean? There's a direct line between the White House and interest rates and the Arab Spring. I mean, people will just come up with anything. Yeah, it was in 2011, 2012, if I remember right. Thank you, hot dogs. Mikey picked up on that too. He said it was 2012. You could lower that now, Mike, if it's bothering you while you're on the phone. Let me see if I can reiterate this once again as I did my video last night. Do not fall in love with the downside. We are just filling gaps today. This is not the top. This is not the top. There's no reason for this to be the top. None. Zero. Nada. Nothing. There's no reason for this to be the top. Nothing, nothing, nothing. We went to fill gaps. We are already green in Russ and NASDAQ. Mikey, call me again. You should.
Yeah, I spoke to whoever, one of the friends or family members that picked up.
Call him again. He's not kidding. So here's what I can say. I haven't. All right. So we have someone who does follow quantum stocks in the room, Neil Dacey. He's very good at them. Personally, I haven't been following the quantum stocks. I've been following quantum and what it does and what's going to happen. And from what I can see, quantum uses these qubits that attach to one another, but way smarter, way faster, way more usable than blocks on a blockchain. They're called qubits. And those qubits, almost like atoms, build upon one another and attach to one another. And they can compute at like the speed of light or whatever the number is, which is part of the quantum computing. And quantum computing now can come up with security keys that supercomputers can't break. The problem that we have right now is everybody is on the internet built on supercomputers, so quantum computer can break any of us or all of us. So we've got a serious issue. What we need is our infrastructure, the Intels and the biggest infrastructure of the internet, to flip everything to quantum machines so that quantum is coming up with our security keys and not supercomputing, because supercomputing can be bested by quantum. We're literally at a quagmire spot right here. The infrastructure of the internet must do this for us. We can't do this ourselves. They have to do it for us. So we literally do have an issue right now. We have a big problem that quantum can crack anything that you can come up with, anything I could come up with. Quantum can crack anything the government can come up with if they're using supercomputers. MCM, Mars is next week. Quantum computing is the week after for Elon Musk. Give him a week. Come on now. He'll take care of quantum computing after he finishes Mars. Mars will do next week. All right. So now the press conference will absolutely send these markets in a direction. They will stay in that direction for a while. Press conference is going to do that. The decision we knew would be nothing. So, Shimmer. I remember doing a video showing that within 3 months of a brand new Fed, we have a big downturn. A brand new Fed governor. Yes, I was able to illustrate that for the last few Fed governors. I have to say we're in a different place right now. I think we're in a different situation right now. You have a Fed chair coming in that really doesn't need to change the policy. Generally, when we get a new Fed chair, we can't wait for him because he's going to shift policies, possibly for us just a little, and get things going. We're in a situation where there's no need to shift policy. So I don't know that it will matter. He's not coming in and going, okay, rates move immediately, which then 3 months later we find out what that meant. He didn't do anything. Right? He came in and did nothing. So let's see what his press conference says. But yes, there is a thing about 3 months after a new Fed chair, we have a market drop. Within the first year, let's call it that, of a new Fed chair. For like the past 2 years or so. So if you would have signed up in 09, I'm sure for calling that one, but you know what I mean? Well, I can't believe that rush trade was right on the money. Smack damn right on the money. Well, pretty much just to say hi from the phone call, and then also if you have any questions for us, you know, about the chat room, the website, granted you're there, so it seems like you kind of know your way to navigate, but recommendations, Omnicamp, any questions, anything like that? All right, so if I get a handle on this. Well, I really can't until after the Fed meeting. I can't even try to get a handle on it. I can say that wheat and beans, more wheat than anything, had a nice turnaround. Let's go look at that because wheat had a strong update today.
Oh, of course. Same here, especially since you want to make omelet.
It's a very strong look to it. It's a very nice look to it, wheat.
Hey, like I said, whenever you're ready, I'm here, Oscar's here, we're ready for you. Yeah, if you ever see us on the bamboo desk. Oh man, when it's 99 degrees, we're thankful because that means it's not 115. Oh my god, I can't imagine. Yeah, same thing. Whenever I go back east, I'm like, alright, I like the cold. If this is out of control, I like can't even move my arm. Oh yeah, 100%. Even when if I ever go to Arizona, I wonder the same thing.
Hiya.
It's even worse than us, but like anywhere, you just get used to it all the time. If you can believe it, yeah. Dad, you have to say Arizona the first thing.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, right? Yeah.
1000% hotter.
Is Death Valley
Hotter and drier.
Yeah, like a hotter and drier place.
We're going here. We will get there.
Maybe it's Phoenix.
Let's go with 1720. Look at how high we are above this channel right now.
Pretty much, yeah.
Look at how high we are above the channel here.
Well, I'm very excited to see you. I know you're ready to have you whenever, so I'm ready to let us know.
Yes.
You got it. Yeah, I was gonna say, you tell me the room I see your name on.
I wouldn't get long. Oh, sorry for the cabs.
That's the word. Hey, Dad, did the Gap and ES and NASDAQ fulfill?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, we should have a press conference in 2 minutes. Omniacs, can you supply me a link for the press conference, please, so I can watch it on the computer? I mean, I'll go find it myself, but usually when you guys are already watching it, you just slam the link in for me. Thank you, Silva. The beauty of having this trading room. Thank you so much, Silva.
100%. Of course, I don't want to sound biased, but it absolutely will. And like I've been saying before, we're excited to meet you once you're ready.
This is me on day one since my son made me switch from running to
I see 2 chat rooms. Oh, just it is. Oh, I know what I wanted to do. I need a page. It's not. Here we go.
Good day. It's an honor, a true honor, to be back at the Federal Reserve and to take up this duty at a time of such consequence. I've been especially heartened by the warm welcome of old friends and new colleagues both. And I've listened closely to my fellow FOMC members, heard a lot of new ideas, new thinking, and genuine interest in moving the Fed forward. This week's FOMC meeting exemplified the very best of the Fed's traditions: rigorous debate, open-mindedness, commitment to mission, responsibility, and accountability for performance. In this business, they all add up to one thing: getting monetary policy right, or as near to it as we can do. That is our North Star.
This is the first
My colleagues and I are
Fed chair we've ever
here
had that
to
doesn't
serve
have
our
gray
legislative
hair.
remit,
I never seen one
which
without
you've heard
gray
us
hair
say before: price stability and maximum employment. And these objectives guided our business in the meeting just concluded. As you saw a few moments ago, the committee decided to maintain the target range for the Fed funds rate at 3.5% to 3.75% in support of the Fed's dual mandate. The committee also reaffirmed its policy of maintaining ample reserves in the banking system.
He will be great.
Economic activity is expanding at a solid pace, despite elevated uncertainty that owes in part to the conflict in the Middle East. Productivity growth and capital investment both strong. Job gains have kept pace with the workforce, and the unemployment rate has changed little. We recognize that inflation has been running well ahead of the Fed's long-stated inflation goal of 2%. That's been going on for more than 5 years. Persistently high prices are a burden for the American people. But the recent past need not be prologue. I am pleased to report that members of the FOMC are unambiguous and unanimous. This committee will deliver price stability. At any institution, a change in leadership is a natural and timely opportunity to reaffirm its mission, to review current practices, and to consider whether those practices best meet our objectives. My Fed colleagues and I will be working in close collaboration to ask what changes might improve the conduct of monetary policy. On that score, you might have already noticed something: a difference in today's policy statement.
Let's hear it.
It's a bit shorter, a bit simpler, and it dispenses with some older language. That statement just gives you the facts as best we can judge it. Absent also is so-called forward guidance, which we agreed was not well suited to the current policy conjuncture. This afternoon, you also received the usual summary of economic projections. It's been the practice of this committee for participants to submit these projections, and I have encouraged my colleagues to continue to do so.
Okay, interesting.
I, however, have refrained from offering any projections of my own, consistent with my long-held views on the SEP, at least as currently structured. In the median projections, real GDP rises at 2.2% this year, 2.3% next year, and total PC inflation runs at 3.6% this year, 2.3% next year. The unemployment rate stands at about 4.3%. The median participant judges that the appropriate federal funds rate to be at 3.8% at the end of this year and 3.6% at the end of next. Let me turn now to a few words on a key initiative that we're announcing today.
Uh-oh.
I'm appointing a task force in each of 5 areas that are central to the broad conduct of monetary policy. First, Fed communications. Second, the Fed's balance sheet. Third, our use and reliance on existing data sources.
That's a
Fourth,
good one.
productivity and jobs in an era of transformation. And last, the Fed's inflation frameworks. These subjects are timely, consequential, and in my view, worthy of a fresh look. My colleagues and I discussed them with energy and purpose over the last couple of days.
Stay in control with next day delivery on most orders. For your shut-off valves, call, click, or enter.
They will be supported by subject matter specialists from our superb Fed staff. And they'll have a straightforward charge. Start with first principles. Ask hard questions. Examine current practice. Consider alternatives. And ultimately, propose next steps for policymaker consideration. Since last summer, my colleagues discussed possible improvements in the form and function of Fed communications. This new task force will build on that effort, and I expect propose some well-considered changes, including to the SEP I mentioned a few moments ago. The second task force, the one on balance sheet policy, will review the benefits and risks of the current ample reserves regime and the composition of the Fed's balance sheet. They will assess alternative frameworks for the conduct and operation of monetary policy. The third task force, the one on data, will evaluate new information sources and consider methodological changes to improve data gathering, with the aim of giving policymakers more accurate, relevant, contemporaneous, and perhaps most important, actionable information on the state of our economy. Fourth, the task force on productivity and jobs. It'll survey the pace, the reach, the economic impact of new general purpose technologies, including AI, and explore the implications for the Fed in pursuit of our employment and inflation mandates. The last task force, the one on inflation frameworks, that'll examine the drivers of inflation, first principles, and weigh the full range of ideas for delivering price stability in a changing economy. You'll hear quite a bit more about these task forces and this overall initiative in the coming weeks. Enough for now to make a simple statement. Each task force will serve an objective shared by everyone in the system, shared by everyone around that table that I sat with over the last couple of days. A Federal Reserve that is clear-eyed about its mission, fit for purpose, and focused on the future. And with that, I appreciate your attention. I'm happy to take your questions.
Howard Schneider.
Hi, Chairman Howard Schneider with Reuters. Good to see you again, and welcome back. This is a lot to be putting in motion so fast. What is the timeline you have in mind for each of these?
So I think it'll depend on the task force. It also depends on the urgency in which we need clear answers. My expectation, I'm still in the business of recruiting and finalizing them. My expectation is the task forces will begin work in the next couple of weeks, and we'll start to get some more information from them, some more framing of how they see things starting in the fall end, hopefully most, if not all of them, concluding by year end.
And just specifically on the inflation framework, you talk about first principles. Does this include a review of the 2% target itself? You've mentioned that things to the right of the decimal point don't matter. Should this be starting from a premise that 2% as a point estimate is too strict?
Let me break that into two pieces. First, on the inflation framework review, their remit is what are the drivers of inflation? What's the Fed's responsibility for inflation? In part, how do we measure inflation? But that'll overlap with my data group. On the 2% inflation objective, that is the Federal Reserve's long-held objective of 2%. You've heard me say before, I tend to focus on the left of the decimal point. Well, the 2 is the left of the decimal point. For now, 0 is to the right. I see no reason until we have reestablished our commitment and ability to deliver on the 2% inflation objective to revisit that. So that'll be outside the scope of what we're taking on.
Colby.
Thank you so much. Colby Smith with the New York Times. You've in the past said that inflation is a choice, and in the policy statement, it includes this pledge to deliver price stability, as you've reiterated today. But looking at the SEP, the bulk of your colleagues expect core PCE to run around 3.3% by year end, and for the 2% inflation target not to be reached until 2028. So I'm curious how patient you think the Fed can afford to be at this juncture in terms of waiting for one-time inflation waves to wash through and for underlying inflation to step down after so many years of inflation running above target. And under what circumstances you would support the Fed taking some action and raising rates?
Sure. So quite a bit there. Let me try to break that into pieces. First, we have the capability and commitment to deliver on our price stability objective of 2%. That's exactly what we're going to do. In the Fed's review of its strategy over the last any number of years, in January, the Fed, including the strategy that we're still bound by, the Fed statement says that inflation is primarily determined by monetary policy. You bet it is. I've said for years inflation is a choice. You bet it is. And today I'm announcing that this committee unambiguously and unanimously have decided we are going to deliver on that. The rest of your questions sounded like an encouragement for me to give forward guidance. We've dropped forward guidance. Some along the committee, I think, dropped it, I suspect, from our discussion the last couple of days, because they said at this moment in time, it doesn't feel as though providing forward guidance is right. Others have, I'd say, different views and think as a general proposition, forward guidance isn't the business we should be in. But that'll be taken up by the Task Force on Communications and my policymaker colleagues. We're going to listen hard to what the experts say and make our own decision. But I can't give any forward guidance about what we're going to do next. The good news is we'll be meeting in 6 weeks.
So just following up, I guess, on the current policy settings, then I am curious how restrictive you think things are at the current moment, given the flow of data that we've seen and, forecasts that are coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, I've heard characterizations both inside and the Fed about that. I'll give you my own. It's uneven. If I look at the housing markets as one example, Fed policy isn't the single determinant of the state of the housing market, but broadly I would say Fed policy appears to be somewhat restrictive. I would have a hard time managing to say those words if I were to see what's happening in financial markets. So I'd say it's uneven. That's perhaps a function of different transmission mechanisms of monetary policy, whether monetary policy is coming from our interest rate tool or a balance sheet tool. But the good news, we have a task force on that too, and the balance sheet task force will be looking more at that subject.
That's the kind of personality he's got.
You said you don't like forward guidance. You dropped it from the statement this time, but with the dot plot, 9 members suggested that they want a rate increase by the end of the year, and the markets have taken that as forward guidance. So what does this mean in terms of how you guide the markets and in terms of what the dot plot's future is?
I agree with you there.
I'm going to have to give you the same answer I gave to Ms. Smith. We've got a task force for that. I'll give you a little bit more. I reviewed the dot plots, and when I saw the submissions, I noted that all the submissions were coming in with pencils. Those kind with the big erasers. That's to say that I think my colleagues around the table, when they submitted their dots, understand the world is changing quite quickly. And they didn't feel bound by them 6 weeks from now or 6 days from now in the event that their circumstances change. I'll note a couple other things. What I heard around the table was, as they submitted their modal forecasts, to be clear, weren't this was more likely than not. This was more likely than their other scenarios. So I didn't hear tons of conviction. What I heard was the kind of humility that I think we should have.
Whatever road you're on, enjoy every mile with flavor built to go the distance.
The policy. I suspect by year end, as I mentioned in my opening statements, there'll be a review about communications broadly. press conferences, dots, meetings and the like, transcripts, minutes. This will be part of that. I don't want to prejudge the outcomes there, but I'm pretty open-minded about what they could be. And I was just incredibly impressed over the last couple of days. My colleagues over the last 2 days, and frankly, over the first 3 weeks I've been here, have been very open about changes. Change isn't easy, change is filled with risk, but our number one goal is to get monetary policy right. The way to get monetary policy right is to deliver on the remit that Congress gave us, to deliver on price stability, and there was no disagreement on any of those points.
At the risk of possibly getting the same answer about task forces, communications, what is your feeling about these news conferences? Are you going to continue one after every meeting? Do you find them useful? What is the future for the way Kevin Warsh will communicate?
Well, this one's probably got another 15 or 20 minutes in it, so I don't want to prejudge the outcome. Press conferences can be a very useful way to communicate with households, businesses, and more broadly through using the likes of you. I had a great old mentor named George Schultz, and his mantra was press conferences are useful, but when you have one, you want to make sure you have something important to say. Today, I think we had something important to say about our commitment to deliver on price stability, our commitment to rethink practices with an eye of moving the Fed forward, and to give you and the American people a sense that these aren't idle thoughts, these are concrete thoughts, that we're going to seek out the best minds, both the best thinking inside of the Federal Reserve and the best people I know in business and economics and the academy and technology and the rest, to share their views. That's what we're going to be doing here, the pursuit of truth. I think we're going to come up with some new and interesting things. We made some changes today. I expect more changes to come, and some of those might well be worthy of a press conference.
Stop. Get out of here now. You didn't do any damage.
Hi, Chris Rugaber at Associated Press. Thanks for taking our questions. Could you give us a sense of how you see inflation more in the long term? I know you may not want to comment on the ups and downs, but is this mainly driven by energy prices in the Iran war at this point, or do you have any concerns about underlying inflation pressures in the economy? Thank you.
So I can't do much better than the committee just did, so let me restate it. Inflation remains elevated relative to the committee's 2% goal, in part reflecting supply shocks that have driven price increases in certain sectors, including energy. The paragraph goes on to say, but to be clear, the Fed will deliver price stability. My own judgment is the committee spent quite a bit of time, not just in 2 days, but over iterations of a couple of weeks. That's what we're prepared to say about inflation, but the commitment to deliver is strong, unanimous, and unambiguous. And that's, I think, an important message. We've missed for 5 years, and we're going to fix that.
Well, great. And then just on the data task force and everything else, I mean, generally speaking, I think people feel the Fed looks at everything already. Certainly that was the sense from before. Is there data that you feel is not given enough weight? I mean, you mentioned the trimmed mean in the past, but again, that's well known to certainly most Fed members. So what is that task force looking at, and what might be I mean, I know you don't want to prejudge the outcome, but are there examples of data that you expect might be given more weight? Thank you.
So you're answering my question. So let me say I don't want to prejudge the outcome. I also don't want to say too much about what they're going to do because I still have a phone call or two to make before I've nailed down the people that are doing that. I'm interested in what the outside experts' view is on the subject. I'll say this generally. Most of the data that central bankers and other government officials in the United States consume come with old-fashioned survey methods, a national accounts of what the U.S. economy looks like that looks very little like the U.S. economy in 2026. Survey methods that don't have response rates that we need, asking questions that might have been quite applicable a generation ago that are less applicable now. So even inside of official statistics, I would be open-minded if the task force and our own best thinking had recommendations how those official statistics can be brought up to a standard of our time using new analytic methods. I'd also say this. almost every private company CEO that's running his or her business are doing so with real-time information that isn't subject to much revision, that is telling them what just happened at that very moment. As you know, there are normal, long and variable lags in the conduct of monetary policy. What we're really interested in is what's happening right now. What we're less interested in is echoes of history. And you're hearing from my answer that some of the data that we receive, that we're waiting on, the first Friday after the month, the payroll index or something else, that might be an echo of history that's quite useful on its third revision. We need to take those error bounds down because we have to make hard decisions in real time. I'm really open-minded that there is a lot of new data sources that we can learn from the private sector, from reforms in the official sector, and new analytic techniques that are far more refined than asking a simple question about whether something was core or non-core.
Edward.
Thanks. Welcome, Mr. Chairman. Edward Lawrence with Fox Business. So if you don't give a lot of ongoing forward guidance, won't the markets have more volatility, and shouldn't Americans have more access into what you're thinking going forward?
So I think financial markets perform best when they react to incoming data. I think the financial markets work less efficiently when they ask a question, how will the Federal Reserve react to that incoming information? The more that markets are paying attention to what's happening in the real economy, deciding what's good data and what's less good data, the more financial markets can price what they believe is the most likely and what are the tail risks. Financial market prices are probably the most important source of information to guide central bankers. But when all the financial markets are doing is reflecting back what we've said, then we're taking the most important source of information and we're being blind to it. I'd like us to create a system where those blinders come off, where markets are following data that they efficiently think is reliable, and they'll be watching data, we'll be watching data, they'll come with better information through market prices to us. We can make more informed decisions with ultimately the goal that I said at the outset, deliver on the price stability objective that Congress told us to do and that we've got to get in the business of doing.
Yeah, if I could take you in the meeting a little bit. This is your first meeting. The board members seem fairly hawkish when you listen to, in general, when you listen to what they're saying. Was there any discussion of a rate cut going forward today?
There was one proposal on the table. There was no discussion of any other proposals. The discussion on that proposal, I would say, was quite limited. The group was unanimous and unambiguous on it. It has been the practice of this central bank and others to have a range of alternatives. Today we had one. I thought it furthered the discussion, deepened it, and made it clear what we needed to do and how we needed to deliver. I wouldn't prejudge what happens in the future, but there was only one big subject for us. We took it on. We had a good family fight on it for a couple of days, and we ended up, I think, in a better place.
Claire.
Thanks a lot, Claire Jones, Financial Times. Coming to this blind, reading this very nice short statement that I think we've all appreciated.
In life, there are doers and there are talkers. Too many politicians, too much talk.
Raise rates today, considering what you're saying here about the risks to US inflation and your mandate. I guess, why not, and what would you need to see in order to get to that place? And secondly, on your task forces, are there any best practices at other central banks that you'd consider looking at? Thank you.
I'm glad they're in the practice of giving you two questions, because my answer to your first question was going to be very curt. I've got nothing more to say than the statement itself. And to the point of the question I got before, market reactions to what we say unfiltered, I think, is more helpful than having delivered a statement and me then improvising further upon it. Best practices of task forces. This is a subject I've thought some about. I've been on a task force or two in my life. Best practice, find the best minds. Ensure that the task forces have a range of people, both by backgrounds and predispositions. So they too can have a bit of a family fight. Make sure when you establish a task force that the group that's going to be the recipient of the information feels as though they've got some equities in it too. That's why we're looking for, haven't done the final roll call, some of the most significant talent we have in the building and across the reserve banks on each of these, and in some sense seconding them to this group for a period of some number of months, so that the leaders of the task force know what the most analytical central bank in the world thinks about that. They can reflect on it, and a final best practice, we're not outsourcing decisions to anybody. Administrations past and present, reserve banks have chosen a group of 19 people around the table. These will be our decisions. We can agree to some of the recommendations, disagree with others, have a good family fight about it. But what comes from them will, I hope and believe, make the discussion we have internally better, stronger, more of a dialectic, so that we can finally deliver on that price stability objective.
Just a quick follow-up on your markets point. If you look at 2-year yields, they're really suggesting that markets think more tightening is needed. Would that be your read on what the 2-year yield is saying as well?
We were in such a good place. This is why we don't do third questions, I presume. I'm not going to offer any commentary on market reaction over the last 30 or 60 minutes. What we've given markets is a new chapter for the central bank, some fresh thinking. What we've given markets and households and businesses, I think, is a commitment to ask ourselves hard questions such that we can deliver on the promises that we've made before. This is a lot of change for financial markets to digest. I wouldn't be particularly intrigued by how they react in the first several minutes or even first several days. What I think is most important is that financial markets, and at least as important, households and businesses know that this central bank will deliver on price stability.
Brian.
Hi there, Chairman Warsh. Brian Chung with NBC News. Thank you for taking our questions. So when you say that we've dropped forward guidance for the layperson, that might sound like the Fed's going to say less or offer less insight into where their borrowing costs might go. So for the person that maybe you might run into at the grocery store, where the price tags are rising at a faster pace than their wages at the moment, how would you explain it to them? I don't know if task force might be the answer there, but how would you kind of communicate this era, this chapter of the Fed?
If I told somebody in the milk aisle that I had a task force for that, I think that would be doing a very poor job, so I appreciate it. If I saw somebody in the grocery store, what I would say to them is that we cannot have a very significant effect on particular prices. The price of oil in the markets today, or even the price of a dozen eggs, that does not have first-order consequences to what we're doing. But we do have a really important job there, and it's to make sure that those changes in oil or beef or eggs or milk don't broaden in the economy, don't have second and third order effects. That's our job, that's our commitment, that's our capability, and we're going to deliver on it.
And then is the Fed's relationship with the Treasury also under review? There was the normal breakfast meetings with the Treasury Secretary. Is that something you intend to continue doing? And have you had conversations with the President since you're swearing in?
So on the President, I don't have anything for you. With respect to the Treasury Secretary, he has been posting pictures of our breakfast, so I don't think I can deny that. The long tradition at the central bank is that the Fed Chairman and the Treasury Secretary meet weekly. I think we've pulled off 3 of those so far. I believe he's overseas this week, so this will be the exception to the rule. I think they're very useful discussions. The central bank's objectives and our roles and responsibilities are quite delineated from the fiscal authorities. And in my view, monetary policy is independent in the conduct of what we do. But that doesn't mean we're not interested in what's happening with the fiscal authorities. The way I think about it is this central bank needs to have a wide lens, but a narrow remit. We need to be quite interested in what's happening in the world. I won't be breaking any news here to suggest I'm quite interested in what's happening in the Middle East. That does have some effect on our day job. It doesn't mean it's our responsibility, but I think we're going to keep a wide lens, and my meetings with Secretary Besson to this point have helped widen that aperture So we're aware of things that could affect our day job, even if it isn't.
All right. So he certainly has $1 million vocabulary.
Steve Leisman, CNBC. Mr. Chair, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for taking my question. You had said in the before you became chairman that you thought productivity was a reason why the Federal Reserve could lower interest rates. Do you still believe that to be the case?
So the committee had a discussion of productivity today. AI came up. The way I thought about it before and socialized with the group is that artificial intelligence, the latest generation of general purpose technology, is perhaps as important a change in the economy and business and households that we've had in my adult lifetime. It is filled with both a huge opportunity and with risks. I take both of those very seriously. You may have heard me say before that AI is shorthand perhaps for American ingenuity. That doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. That certainly doesn't mean it's not going to be disruptive. But over the long term, my conviction, and I heard quite a bit of support for this around the committee today, is the United States is a winner as we go down this. The United States is ultimately going to be better off in that. Now, to bring that back to the conduct of policy, timing, scale, speed, implications for output and employment, it's one of the things we have a task force to do.
If you don't mind, a follow-up from the other side, which is that when you look at the strong job growth that's out there, the elevated inflation, GDP seems to be going pretty good, and the stock market seems to be soaring. Do you look around this economy and see the funds rate being restrictive?
So that's your second question. I'm going to give the same answer that I gave before. I'd say as I think about the conduct of policy, what matters is what's the effect of policy. Not what do we say, but what happens. And the best way I can describe it is it's uneven. I do see some restrictiveness in things like housing. It's hard to use those same words anywhere else. I'll just make one other point. You talked about one of our dual mandates on the employment side. I don't believe that we have a cruel choice. I don't share the view that was expressed a few generations ago that Federal Reserve chairmen show up at a podium like this and say, you got to choose. And you're going to have to decide whether you're willing to tolerate higher inflation to put more people at work. I don't believe in that. What I believe is if we do our job, we can make strong growth, low prices, and strong employment mutually compatible. And so what you heard from the committee today is we've got some...
If you live in San Diego, you've probably heard of people going over to Mexico to get their dental implants done. But you should know that what you save up front may actually cost you a lot more later on.
The move would be to tighten, or at least to threaten to. Now, you didn't do that today. Why not?
That judgment you expressed was not expressed by any of the 19 people around the table. We'll be meeting in 6 weeks. We'll take up the issue again.
And if I could ask about AI, the build-out is generating enormous demand right now, CapEx, data centers, power. The productivity payoff may be further out. So in your judgment today, is AI adding more to demand or to supply?
It's a good question. At the central bank in an economics profession, what we spend most of our time doing is counting demand. It's easier. We can see it, we can count it, we can check it, we can revise it. What we do, though, is we infer supply. You'll notice in the second paragraph of what one of your colleagues described as a very short statement, we have a sentence on the demand side and a sentence about the same length on the supply side. They're both important. Just because we can count one better than the other doesn't mean we're going to favor one more than the other. With respect to AI and the growth of data centers and infrastructure around it, we're counting the demand side, and it is no doubt showing up in GDP figures. We can be less certain when we infer the timing and extent of the growth in the supply side. It may well be an intuition the supply side is going to expand, but it'll take longer. I just describe it this way. There's a race between supply and demand. Milton Friedman says that the only thing we know about economics is that there's a supply line and a demand line they ultimately cross. when they cross and what are the implications for policy. The good news for you is we have a task force for
I
that.
agree, MCM. Walk away, sir. Would you stop?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. It sounded like on the task force on data that you were looking at overhauling or completely overhauling the system of national accounts, the way the government mines the economy. Is that your ambition?
In a word, no. In a few words, much of this data gathering happens in other government agencies to which we owe a tremendous amount of respect, tremendous amount of deference. But if in the course of this we come up with recommendations, which Fed staff have already begun to develop, about things that they could be doing to help inform us as policymakers, we're not going to hesitate. Again, I don't want to try to delineate the four corners of the research of the task force on data, but I do think there will be a review of official statistics, and at least as important, a view of bringing the best practices from the private sector and new analytical tools made possible by AI so we can forge these into a fabric that gives us better real-time information. So as I mentioned before, when we're making decisions that we'd say are real contemporaneous data, not data that we call contemporaneous, that's really an echo of history.
Okay. Thanks. The other question I wanted to ask is related to the building renovations. Are you considering any changes to the renovations, the projects, just in light of the fact that they became kind of a political football in the last year?
I heard something about that. I don't think I'm breaking any news, but my view, when you show up at a new institution, you should go meet with the Inspector General, just as a matter of good practice. It's a practice that I hope to continue. I've had one meeting with the Inspector General, and he told me what I believe the world knows, which he'll be coming out with a report on the building and the building projects at some point later this summer. And I'll be interested in reading the report. From my perspective, with a forward-looking glance, is there anything that we can be doing or should be doing from this moment until the completion of the project to do what we can to be good stewards of taxpayer money and make sure that we're delivering on the promises that we made? Some more work to do. You might not be surprised in the first few weeks. I've been somewhat preoccupied on other matters, but I promised to get to the full breadth of the Fed's tasks in the weeks ahead.
Victoria.
Hi, Victoria Guida with Politico. So I know that you did not submit a forecast, but you are the person who is authorized to speak on behalf of the FOMC. So I'm wondering if you could tell us in the SEP the increase in the expectations for inflation. Is that all because of the Iran war? What was the discussion around what the expectations for inflation being higher and also potentially growth being slower?
So my read of what I heard in the room reflected, I must admit, in the SEPs, is half of my colleagues thought the policy rate, given all those developments, should be at this level or lower between now and year end, and the other half thought higher. That 19th voter was me, and I didn't submit one. There's a range of views on the questions of first and second round effects, no resolution or conviction, but we'll be meeting again in 6 weeks. I think we're going to know more then, and I think that my colleagues are very attentive to incoming developments between now and then.
And can I just quick follow up on the SEP? You said that you're still encouraging your fellow committee members to submit forecasts even if you're not doing it. So what do you think is the benefit of them doing it even if you don't?
That's the commitment that the FOMC made, and it's a commitment that I hope we live up to. Commitment we made was to deliver price stability. I expect us to live up to it. By the time we get to the end of this year, as I mentioned, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a new communications framework. There were some changes to the SEP. That's a committee discussion, a robust discussion. I think we'll have it. I believe we're going to come to a better mix of communications to deliver on what we promised, but I wouldn't want to prejudge what those are. But between now and then, I would continue to expect colleagues to submit their SEPs. Some of them
Then after that, we can talk.
I believe that the practice is currently structured is okay, but I heard a lot of interest in real reform, generally about all these topics. You didn't ask it, but I'll answer. It was a pretty gracious couple of days, and it's been a pretty warm few weeks. The institution wants to figure out how we can do better. The institution's going back to first principles, and I'm encouraged that what we've done in the statement, what we're thinking about doing with respect to the SEP, that instinct towards a new chapter is a real one, and by the end of the year, I hope we can put some points on the board, both in form and in substance of delivering.
Great press conference. Walk away. Oh, Jesus. You're going to ruin this, sir.
Could you guide us through, please, some of the principles that guide your own reaction function, and tell us a little bit about kind of conditions that you think when the Fed should respond?
It's going to be a very unsatisfactory answer to the final question. The Federal Reserve has a lot of responsibilities, not just in monetary policy, but in supervision and regulation, consumer affairs, and payments. My own view is our credibility comes from delivering on what we're saying we're going to do across everything we do. I've devoted more time in my first 3 weeks to monetary policy than all those things. But the more we deliver on our promises as good supervisors and good regulators, the more benefit we get, the more credibility enhancement we have in monetary policy. When we deliver on our price stability objectives, which we will, the American people will feel as though the hardships that they've been living through, in part because of inflation in the last 5 years, are in the rearview mirror, and that credibility will have dividends across what we do, and the institution will come to
Life is too expensive. We all feel it. Our Governor Joe Lombardo, he gets it.
To do better, but we're going to put some points on the board.
And Mr. Chairman, on labour data in recent months, how would you sum up the labour data, the labour market right now? Do you see it as stable and as potentially a source of inflation? Thank you.
Yeah, so the committee, if I were to try to capture how the committee thought about it, the committee thought that the labor markets were stable. There were some people around the committee who thought that it was trending better than that.
Why are you writing out the people?
Trends matter more than data points. What's happening over 3 or 6 months matters more than any one data point, any one data release. And I'd say the jobs data has been moving in a good direction. If I heard one other thing around that subject over the course of the last couple of days, what I heard was that strong productivity-led growth is not something that we fear, but something we embrace. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Go away. Good job. Well done. Great conference. You didn't break anything.
That strong productivity-led growth is not...
He didn't break a thing. Give him credit for that.
He was close.
If you want to keep speaking, eventually you're going to say something
that
wrong.
Comment about how things they weren't agreeing on, and
when you're doing something like that, it's almost as if when a judge asks you a question or a lawyer, you only answer what the information they've asked you. Do not expand upon it. And he was starting to expand a little bit. You know what I mean? Got to get him out of there. All right. So now it's 3:14. It was at 2:00, 45 minutes. 2:00. 2:45, but we had a press conference that ended here. Wow, we won't even know where this is going to go to right near the close. We still need a little time to digest. Without a press conference right around now, it would start to figure out where it wants to go, but we just did the press conference, so knocks us, and he did a long one, did 45 minutes, that changes the timing of everything. Oh well. All right, so let me do this for just a moment. I think it works like this. Check this out. If I go like this, I go back here and I say scenes. Watch this one.
Oh, I'm sorry, they were talking to them.
If I do scenes, I can say Huh, look at that. The dollar took off and everything got slammed. Everything. Damn. Live with Oscar. Hey, Austin. I will call them right now. Thank you. Austin's here. Thank you. All right. Whew. Cool. Be a little scary getting back into the gold standard on anything, though. It's just too volatile to be using gold for a standard. And where's my chat? Chat. All right, so we'll see where it closes, and then we'll figure out what to do tonight. I know Russ gave a fantastic trade last night for today, although it was a Fed day, so we didn't take it, but we'll see what it gives us tonight. Yeah, no doubt it's algorithmic. They are absolutely looking at the same stuff we are. You know, I think if we, let's see, did it actually fill 1,000%? Let's make sure it went through the gap. It should have gone through the gap. I remember it going through the gap. Excuse me?
Knuckles isn't in here.
Yeah, he's in here. You can,
Oh,
you
he's
can
in
take
here?
him out. Yeah.
Come on, Knuckles.
He followed me.
Mikey's looking for him. Come on.
Did we fill that gap 100%?
Come.
Let's look.
What you were missing?
Okay, when are you going to let me change this bar to another type of bar? All right. This bar will not change. I'm trying to turn this into a daily for us. There we go. And let's go with June. Let's see what the absolute low was. I don't know if it quite got there 100%. Low is 29,766. The high is 29. Oh yeah, 760. So within 6 ticks, you missed it by 6 ticks, filling the gap so far. But that's visually filled, which is close enough. You only need visually filled. But there are 6 ticks that didn't make it. You see what I'm saying? The low here is 29,766. The high here is 29,760. So there's literally 6 points in Nasdaq difference. How about ES? ES filled it and gap past it, so ES is fine. Gap filled.
Yeah, when you called me, I was outside, and I'm looking at the board as you called me, and I was like, "Oh, is he about to tell me news dropped?" Because like
Lining up
every
like a
single thing
Christmas
lit up
tree.
and was dropping.
Look at it. Look at gold and silver, and all of this stuff just slammed all the way across the top. All of this slammed. Everything that was open went down. The only stuff that didn't move was the stuff that was closed, which is all it is.
Are silver and crude about to finally go back down to earth, perhaps?
Well, crude, as you know, one missile being shot,
Oh, yeah,
crude's
of
at
course.
85.
Crude, nothing. We can't decide or think of anything with crude until the war is done.
Well, I have a target of 70, but that could change with one missile.
Exactly. That's why I was saying, just because of that alone.
Oh boy, it sure does look ugly. And the good thing is, if you stretch this thing out to the weeklies, don't forget, the picture's not nearly as ugly.
Hey, not for nothing. Wasn't Bonds making a new high during the meeting? Or close to it? Because if so, what the hell?
Well, bonds are very sensitive to the Fed, right? That's what it's all about.
I know somebody in there was talking about that. I think it was MC. About the Grand Cuba bomb recently.
SpaceX still holding itself. 195. Slammed across the. Look at all the red.
What about the cryptos?
Crypto.
Oh, they kind of held
Yeah,
what they've been
for
for the
what
day.
crypto does, they're holding pretty well.
Cool. How come that's white?
What?
Swinging.
No clue.
gonna
Oh,
say-
settled unchanged.
I was just gonna say, is it all an unchanged?
Yeah, it's an unchanged.
So I looked it up before that.
So we're all here, here.
Because I was doing the same thing as you. I was like, that shouldn't be happening. That's funny.
That's better. It's supposed to say that, right?
Is it? Alright. Well, let's see. We could keep clicking and change the options, right? Balance, you receive. Oh, okay. Duh.
That changed. It didn't look like that yesterday.
This or that?
The thing that we just did, our caps lock. No, sorry. Forgot him. Oh my god, I'm totally messing this up. You know why? Could you get this damn thing?
And you're not typing.
Get back in my way. Oh my god, what just happened there?
You hit back, I think, right? Yeah.
Confirm. Oh, what is that? This doesn't make any sense. This was definitely set up incorrectly. And I don't know why it's doing that right now. Let's see if it's because of this. Nope. Because of that. It just didn't happen. All right. What on earth was that?
Want to look at the transaction, make sure they go through.
That's what it was supposed to look like. That's why it was wrong. Nope. Okay. I was
I'm seeing
confused.
another new low. Damn. New high dollar.
That's more like it. That makes sense.
And happen, no issue.
Mm-hmm. All right. Lots of new lows out there. It's only 3:35. Wow. There's still time to do some damage here.
Right. In non-market news, 2026 NBA Finals finished as the most watched since 1998 and the most ever on ABC.
Well, sure, the Knicks win. It's the biggest market, so that makes sense.
Yeah, but like when you think about it, 1998 to 2026, in between that period, there were Shaq, Tim Duncan, LeBron, Kobe. Not one, and countless others. Not one of them got the ratings like this. Wow. I mean, granted, you know, that goes streaming numbers. Who knows what the real numbers are, but pirated websites. Well, without a doubt, that will help that. I wonder if the league realized that's the cheat code, and every single year from now on, let's put the Knicks in the finals, whether they win or lose.
Well, it certainly did get a lot of attention to NBA.
Oh, Vegas Golden Knights have named Ryan Craig their next head coach. GM Kelly McCrimmon said a few minutes ago that John Tortorella really wanted, unquote, to continue with Vegas, but the team decided to give Craig the opportunity to make the jump from the AHL.
Really?
Craig, 44, spent time with the Lightning and Blue Jackets as a player before jumping into coaching as an assistant on the inaugural Golden Knights team. Craig spent 6 seasons on Vegas' staff under 3 different head coaches before becoming a head coach at the AHL Henderson in 2023. Craig is the 5th coach in Golden Knights history, but he's the first they hired without NHL head coaching experience.
Well, shame we couldn't take that rush train today, huh? Well, you know, everyone realizes this guy's more of a hawk than he is a guy who lowers rates. And you've heard me say that about him lots of times leading up to this. If you do any research about him, he's always the guy saying, let's not lower rates. That dollar, every time the dollar makes a new high, everything else makes a new low. The dollar's right in the middle, right here. Every time this makes a new high, you notice everything else around it makes a new low. Wow. Serious new lows now.
Hello, hey Neil, how are you? Mike Carboni from liveafter.com. How are you, sir? What, replay from what? Soccer? Oh, nice. What? How you doing? How did you get a call? Only a little bit. Like once in a while, if the game is on. You know, I have to be honest, I don't know why, because it's one of the most fun atmospheres of the game I've ever been to with soccer. It's just absolutely insane. A little bit, I've seen some things here and there, but honestly, I think I've seen more about New York fans in the Knicks than I have anything about the World Cup. Yeah. Oh. That's awesome. Boston's run out of beer. Love it. Oh, yeah, and that's like besides their biggest Walmart.
Most Fed chairs just ignore the noise and they don't get caught up. Powell actually got caught up in the noise and started fighting back, which it's not necessary. You are completely insulated. Just ignore, ignore and do your job is what really the Fed governor should do. Let the president say whatever he wants. He can't stop you. He does his job. You do your job. You're separate entities of the government.
I was looking through the list, and when I was first doing the call, I was like, all right, well, I can't call the first immediately. That's just, it's always so obvious. I catch the bus for us. Oh, nice. I get to relax. Oh, perfect. So I interrupted the only time you had to relax today.
Let me know if you join.
Well then.
17 minutes dump or pump. It's basically a guess, and dump is all that's happened. So let's just call it dump. Short covering would make sense, but usually we don't do things that make or not make sense. That's not trading.
Yeah, but well, that would also be more of an thing I would want to go on to. Overall, doing well. Actually, the last couple weekends I've been hanging out with my friends and having fun and going out a little bit more. And just for me, it's usually not like just like I go out. I'm more like I like to go to bowling alley, maybe a bar, the mall, something like that. So it's fun. Oh, well, that's in the phone book. We went out to the Facebook for my friend's birthday. She turned 21, but it was kind of cool. It was on.
Yeah, how far are we expecting that NASDAQ to drop?
So after a little while, just to, say we did.
Got to 29.32.
So,
29.02 next.
oh, yeah.
02 and 20. 29.22 next. Eugene. All right. Crypto's making new lows.
Sounds like a cool invention.
Ah,
Yeah, okay,
gotcha.
it's just kind of like what I was thinking. Kind of like one of those Amazon robots or Robo robots.
Well, welcome. Yes. So Cassidy, if you could hear me, just join live with Oscar. It's absolutely free. You'll register. It'll ask you, username, password. You hit enter. You're going to get an email. It may go to your spam because the way the world works today, if a website sends an email to a new email address that's never written back to the site before, the browsers automatically push it off to spam, and it's up to you to unspam it. So if you join the site, unspam the email, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, what you want.
Can you hear me, by the way, Cassidy? Hiya.
That's really awesome. I'll have to show that. This is cool. Yeah, no, that can. I'm sure what better roll is awesome. Oh, yeah, this is right up his alley. Mhm. Yeah, I got it. It doesn't work for you guys. Not the right.
I don't see myself on TikTok. I don't even know how to get there.
Yeah, like the windows. Yeah, they would definitely have to be used to it. Either that or we would just have to set it up.
So now NASDAQ completely filled its gap. Now there's no more question.
All we wouldn't have a choice, say we die like literally any day, especially during the summer. Oh wow. That's true. Yeah, you got that right.
Hiya.
Well, yes. Yeah, somewhere around that. Maybe closer to like 10 total.
10 minutes. And we can find out what they want to close this at.
Oh, I know. I was just kidding. Well, yeah, if you want, I'll just like 10% from the phone and your speed. Because, you know, it's of course a work in progress. It's got to be big print.
All right, so 29,923, another new low in NASDAQ.
Well, I mean, of course, got to be my own analysis, but off the movement, the board, I would think that's the right call.
Very cool, Mr. Frosty.
It still looks nice. But in general, how are you though? Like, if anything, do I look thinking of it?
That's true. Well, all right then. No, I think there's still a lot of stuff coming out. I mean, the stuff I read this week, there was still a lot of companies reporting. I'm looking forward to tonight's analysis. To be honest, I want to see what gives, baby.
Well, you're getting, I don't know if vacation's the right word, but I guess you're getting a different kind of experience.
Well, tomorrow's Thursday. Friday is a 3-day weekend, right? We got to be careful what we do and how we do it. I believe tomorrow's a full day. I don't think that there's any half days tomorrow.
maybe go see a Bengal.
Let's go with.
God, I didn't know if you meant like the beginning of September.
Talking to me? Okay. Tomorrow is, let's see, holidays, reject all.
Nice. Well, I have to think so. Sounds like you basically, I don't know, I'm not to say bring normalcy to them, but it sounds like you're good at organizing.
Nice pullback, that's for sure.
Well, hopefully that's not for a long ass time.
60. Nvidia got uglier as the day went on. That's what I was expecting from it. Showed this in last night's video and it didn't look very good.
Oh, if you want, we could send the call and do what I do. Well, that's nice. Well, we're gonna do. We gotta do analysis, but I don't know. I feel like I said DSC too. But still, another hour.
Yeah, anything can happen in that last hour. Maybe we'll close at 75.12. The high today was 76.12. Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Yep. Love Oscar.
No.
Hello, love Oscar. All right. Tell your friends.
Oh yeah. Ouch. Oh. Might be fun with weird type of. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Ding, ding, ding. Market's closed. Live with Oscar. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate you. All right. Call me if you need anything. All right, Austin's done. Okay. Tonight we figure out what comes next. All right, I'm going to stop the stream for now, kids. Got some analysis to do, and then we'll see each other tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, stops are in. And guess where emotions are? Emotions are out. Thank you, YouTube. I'll see you after analysis. Hey, we're going to 75-12, kids. That's